Hey everybody, Eric Wagner here with another video, and I want to take a few minutes to talk about these things called views, V-I-E-W-S. What are they, why are they, and why should you maybe care? And in fact, if you've deployed any of our solutions, you may have actually seen these things called views. Well, we'll start off with a basic definition. A view is meant to be a live representation of your data that exists separately from the source data itself. So, I'll give you an example, and it'll be the example we'll use in this video. Let's say you have a layer of something like fire hydrants, and you want to be able to take those fire hydrants, the spatial locations and the attributes, and you want to be able to share them with someone else. Maybe it's the local fire department or the local municipality, something like that. Now, you may have some data in there that's critical, or maybe you don't want to share it out. Maybe it's, well, we want to share the hydrants, but not all of the attributes, or maybe we only want to share the hydrants in this one particular district, but not these others. Well, this view allows you to take that source data and provide someone else to access certain aspects of it, and you have control over that. And that's what a view allows us to do. So it's this really great way that we can share data. Now here's the thing. What makes it really great is that this is different than maybe the old days where you might have taken your data set, created a shape file, and then put it in a zip folder and emailed it off to someone. Well, that may have been a way of sharing data in the past. What that meant is that when you create the shapefile, it existed separately from the source data. So maybe monthly, quarterly, annually, people had to be, exporting and shipping off this data. But the goal of a view is that what you present in this view, this item that we'll see in ArcGIS Online, is still dynamically linked back to the source data, which is just so incredibly powerful. So let's go ahead, jump into ArcGIS Online, and see what it looks like to create some of these views. And here we are. So let's say I have my hosted feature layer here, and in here we have some information about our fire hydrants. So I'm going to click on this, and I'll see here that within my hydrant inspections hosted feature layer, I have one layer and one table. Now let's say I wanted to share these hydrants with the local municipality. I don't need to share out the inspection information, just the location of hydrants and a couple of select attributes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my layer, and then I'm going to come over here to where it says Create View Layer, and I'm going to click on this. And I'm just going to give it a quick name here. So let's just call this Hydrants View. Give it some tags, summary, and a folder to save it in, and press OK. And so this is going to create that, again, that dynamically linked perspective on the source data. So this is going to be a new hydrants view of the original hydrants layer. And here we go. So now we got hydrants view, and we can see it only has the hydrants within it. And in fact, if I go back into my content real quick, we'll see that it actually creates a new item for us in our content. So here was the feature layer hosted. Here is your feature layer hosted view. So now if we go into the view and just quickly dive into the data for a second, we'll see that we have almost 1,400 features and all kinds of attributes in here. But the view is going to allow us to trim this down a little bit before we share it out with others to see. So if I come into the visualization tab of my view, this is where I can define what my view is and how it functions. So notice here that I have some hydrants in Illinois and I have some in Pennsylvania. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to take this and whittle it down so that way I only have hydrants that are in Illinois showing a couple of attributes and maybe only a small subset of my entire utility's hydrants. And we're going to do that, and we're going to do that pretty quickly and easily. So if I have over here on the left-hand side these different functions, many of which are very similar to what you would expect in your normal map viewer, but if I click on More Options, I can choose Set View Definition. And this is where I have the ability to set a filter based on an attribute, choose which fields I want to show, or actually define a manual spatial boundary to the data that gets shown. So in my case here, I actually have a field that delineates states for me, because maybe this is a multi-state agency, Illinois versus Pennsylvania. So I can go into Define Features, and I can just write a really simple expression that allows me to say state is unique values, Illinois, and apply the definition. So first and foremost, we'll notice the Pennsylvania hydrants are gone, and now I can zoom into my hydrants here in Illinois. And if I click on any of my hydrants, I'll be able to see I have all kinds of attribution here, but we don't need to share all of this attribute information out. So again, back in my view definition, I can define which fields are exposed through this view. And I'm going to turn them all off except for nozzle diameter and manufacturer, and press apply. So now if I click on a hydrant, I'll only be able to see object ID and global ID, which have to come through. That's necessary for the database. But nozzle diameter and manufacturer come through. Everything else has now been hidden. So this view is kind of acting like a filter, really, that certain information can or can't get through based on spatial location or attribution. And then let's say we kind of have like this southwestern corner of the utility here, and this is what we want to share out. Nothing else up here to the northeast. So I can come in here and I can actually set a manual area of interest as well. So I'll define the area of interest. I can draw a rectangle or maybe do a polygon, and I can do some deliberate clicking to kind of define along our little river here in the middle of town that will allow me to determine what is going to be shared. In this case, I'm sharing what's inside of my polygon. Double click to complete, press apply, and now we'll see that the rest of those hydrants are no longer being shared out with us. So now it's at this point where I can actually work in a map with this view that I have. So I'll click on Overview, and here I am. Here's my view. I'm going to click Open in the Map Viewer, and what we'll now see is within this map view that everything we put in place with that view has come through. So try as you might, you cannot see the fire hydrants that are in this northeastern part of the territory. Try as you might, you will not find those fire hydrants in southeastern Pennsylvania. The view is preventing all of that from getting through. Or if I come in here and click on any of these fire hydrants, we'll see that the only access that people have to attributes is the nozzle diameter and that manufacturer as we defined. Even if I try to open up the attribute table, it's only going to show what people are looking, what was provided through this view. If I want to go in here and take a look at configuring the pop-up, what attributes do I want to show or not show? Again, it's been blocked off here. Now, you might notice that the set view definition is available to me here. That's only because I am the owner of the view. If I were to take this and actually give this to somebody else who is not the owner, they would not have this option to update or change the view. Again, a very secure way that we can share our data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my content here. And I want to point out a couple things and then maybe show one last aspect of how this view can work for us. Is that if I come in here and I take a look at my view, click back in its content, I'll actually be able to see where this view was created from. So I know it came from the hydrant inspections feature layer. So in the event I need to understand like its lineage, where it came from, I can look that up. Or on the flip side of this, if I click on kind of the parent that was used to derive the view, the original hydrant inspections, I'll actually be able to see the different views that have been created from it under other views down here in the lower right-hand corner. But speaking of this kind of parent that it originally came from, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to take my hydrants layer and I'm going to open this in a map with full editing control. And so remember, this is not the view. So I'm able to see all of the data. But what I'm going to do to prove what this is able to do for us is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add in another fire hydrant. We're going to say it's going to be in Firemen's Memorial Park. And just to prove my point here, we'll see that there is no fire hydrant here in Firemen's Memorial Park. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly edit this to add in an additional fire hydrant in here. So if I click to add this, I'll set my nozzle diameter to be, I don't know, 5 1/4 inches. Manufacturer, we're going to make it be Corey. And I'm going to set this value here for notes. This was actually where I was storing that state's information to Illinois. And I'm going to press close. And so with that, I've just added a brand new fire hydrant. And I'll leave my editing. So now I'm going to come into my view here, and I'm just going to zoom in or zoom out and change my extent, and we'll now see there's that brand new fire hydrant. It was added because it met all of the qualifications of our view. It has the state of Illinois, and it has it's falling within our boundaries, that little polygon we drew earlier. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to edit him, and I'm going to throw him on the other side of the river. So now if I come back in, I'll close out of editing and go back into my view, kind of change my extent, notice it's gone because now he does not meet all of the qualifications of the view we established. So again, this really great way that we can go about and create this data and then share it, but still have it be live linked. So again, we're not doing this, creation of separate sheet files. If it finally came to that point in time where you were ready to take this and share it out with people at other organizations or whatnot, you'd be able to come in here and simply check the box and then share this as necessary, people within your organization, publicly, or other groups. So with that, that concludes what it means to work with a view. So we learned what is a view, how do we create a view, how do we define a view based on attributes, spatial extent, and then the fields you want to show. So this video was maybe a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but again, this really powerful way that you can kind of create this perspective on your source data without having to break the link between the two. So it's this dynamically updated perspective on your original data set. So hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.